We are talking about glaucoma this week, this entire week, because it's World Glaucoma Week. And I'm very pleased to have in studio as we wind up this wonderful conversation that we've been having every day since Monday, the producer of the segment, Janesta Agard, on
Thank
set.
you, Lisa. Morning.
And you've brought with you Joan Bishop, who's a medical social worker, former director of Family Services, Trinidad and Tobago, CEO, Creative Parenting for the New Era. Welcome as well. So I will start with you, Janesta Agard, who, you know, you are so inspiring. I always tell you that because you live with blindness and you just continue with life as if life never stopped, right?
It has not.
It has not. And you've produced this wonderful segment for us.
My pleasure.
So the Trinidad and Tobago Blind Welfare Association, I know that this is an initiative. This is one of the initiatives, and you've supported them in this. So
Correct.
Just give us a message to wind up the week from the Blind Welfare Association.
Well, thank you again, Lisa, for having me. But first of all, I want to say, Lisa, I want to say congratulations to TTT and your early morning program now for the frequent messages and messages given out with such clarity at that this moment where we are, as you would say, every morning. Do not panic, but know what your responsibility is. You have done that magnificently, Lisa, and I have to say that.
And you're speaking about the coronavirus updates.
Right,
yes,
that is correct.
Yes, okay.
And so now, without panic, what we are doing now, you have told us what we have to do. It's our responsibility and it's our health.
Thank you so much.
You're very, very welcome. I felt that I had to say that. Also to Blind Welfare, as you just said,
yes.
They have taken the initiative, Glaucoma Week, and we deal with different aspects of eye care. Okay. Now, did I say anything about eye care for my patients out there about taking their medication? Because I want to talk about that very briefly, very quickly.
Yes.
You must remember, please, my friends out there, you have your medication to take. Please, and you might get scared, panic and whatnot. It's important that you use your eye drops as directed. The times you're supposed to take it, that is important, because we can say, oh gosh, I can't do that, because it's your health and that's important. And also, very importantly, check on your stocks. Do I have my medication for the next 2 weeks at least?
Yes.
Because we do not know what's going to happen. Please, God, we are not panicking, but make sure that you have enough medication that lasts for 2 weeks.
Wonderful.
Yes.
I want to bring Joan Bishop into the conversation because we spoke about prevention, we spoke about testing, we spoke about taking your drops on time and so on. But I want to talk about the reality of having discovered that you have glaucoma, that sense, what the emotional side of it now, what the patient would go through. Tell us what happens at that point with the individual.
I think one of the things that we must observe is that you may have a relative who had glaucoma, as so often is the case. Yesterday I heard mother, grandmother. You may have been told that you're at risk, high risk, because it's a hereditary condition, and yet you do nothing about it. We have to look, all of us, at our attitudes, what knowledge we have, and whether our knowledge translates into a behavior difference. And so often with people who are relatives of people with glaucoma, we say that's something that will happen in old age, or it won't happen to me. So there's wishful thinking. And fantasy and a disconnect.
So they're in denial.
With the scientific,
Yes, a sense of denial.
So that when it does happen, and we've heard repeatedly that the risk of your having having the glaucoma and not knowing it for a few years before you actually become blind is a very important thing. So that denial and disconnect between what you know and how you behave is a very important first thing that you have to be conscious of.
Right.
Because when you suddenly discover that your sight is gone or almost gone, it may be too late for you may ultimately lose your sight altogether.
Right.
So the urgency of making that connection while you're still young. And I've been thinking about it from the point of view of take the older person. So you discover that you're almost blind now.
Yes.
You were a driver.
Yeah.
You
How do
can't-
you cope? What are the coping mechanisms once you've discovered, and you're dealing with loss, you're dealing with denial,
Yeah.
you're dealing with acceptance? Give us some coping mechanisms, some tips for coping.
Well, the first of all is consciousness.
Yeah.
Consciousness that your life has changed dramatically, and you can expect some level of pain and disenchantment and
Right.
fear that, oh my God, how will I live here? And therefore, we have to be building relationships even before we get to that stage, so that we have some people to depend on. Not everybody has a large family or even grandchildren
Yeah.
at that stage.
Right.
And therefore, your friends, building a relationship with friends and neighbors and sharing with them the challenges that you face is a very important first step. Tell people. A lot of people cope because of their faith in God and their
Right.
prayerfulness.
Right.
But there is going to be a dramatic change in how you live your life. So as I was saying, it may be that you've lost the ability to be on the road driving your own car. Suddenly, you have to depend on someone to take you to the grocery, to the church, to the clinic.
Yes.
And there's an embarrassment with asking anything. Well, you're unwilling to ask for help because you're not accustomed. You're an independent, self-sufficient person. So that's a major shock and change you're dealing with. But you have to believe that there are people in your family and in your environment who are sympathetic enough and who are willing to do that, because the fact that you've lost your sight doesn't mean that you've lost the capability to be reciprocal in some way to
Yes.
the
So you have to have that trust
Yeah.
in others, and also begin to believe that life will continue,
Absolutely.
as Janesta Agard so aptly demonstrates.
It
Yes.
does.
Yeah.
It
Absolutely.
really, yes.
Ladies, we have to leave it there. I know you understand what's happening this morning. We have to cut in because we have the Chief Medical Officer of Guyana on the line, and we want to give an update in terms of what's happening there. So I have to wrap it up right now with Janesta Agard, who's been producing this segment this morning, this entire week for us, as
My
well
pleasure.
as Joan Bishop, who gave us some excellent tips there for coping with the onslaught of glaucoma, and just ensuring that you recognize that there's going to be some sense of loss, that you have to accept, move on, and also maybe there's a spiritual dimension that helps you to cope. So Joan Bishop, medical social worker, former director of Family Services Trinidad and Tobago, and CEO for Creative Parenting for the New Era. Thank you both for coming on the program this morning.